According to Swiss-American psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, there are 5 stages of grief. There's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. When it comes to this White House, the Joe Obama White House, as a country, we live in each one of those stages of grief day in and day out. I don't know about you, but with each and every passing day since Joe Obama took over the White House last January, and with each slip of our American culture and society, with each lie, stretch, and fabrication, with each element of power grabbing and fear mongering, and with each and every blatant abject failure, I live in all those stages. Except for the last one, of course, acceptance. I refuse to accept that this is our reality, and I refuse to accept the outright dishonesty and the new political lows that come with this administration. To use inflation as a glaring example, when it comes to inflation, the Biden White House has gone through each and every one of those 5 stages. Denial.
But most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary. I don't know anybody, including Larry Summers, who's a friend of mine, who's worried about inflation. Talking inflation, the overwhelming consensus is it's going to pop up a little bit and then go back down. No one's talking about this great, It's highly unlikely that it's going to be long-term inflation that's going to get out of hand. There's nobody suggesting there's unchecked inflation on the way.
They weren't watching The Balance, were they? Well, there's also anger.
Not only do they oppose making big corporations pay their fair share, they want middle-class families and small business owners to pay more.
Come on, man. How about bargaining?
If you want to get rid of inflation, the only way to do it is to undo a lot of the Trump tax cuts and raise rates. No Republican is ever going to do that. So the only way to get rid of inflation is through reconciliation.
Got it. So take away more of our money. Gotcha, Chucky. Well, then there's depression.
We've built a strong economy with a strong job market. And I agree with what Chairman Powell said last week, that the number one threat is the strength, and that strength that we built is inflation.
Whatever that is. To be clear, I don't think he's depressed there. I just get depressed every time I hear that soundbite. And this one, too.
We got to deal with the fact that folks are paying for gas, paying for groceries, and need solutions to it. So let's talk about that. Short-term solution includes what we need to do around the supply chain, right? So we went to the ports of Los Angeles, Long Beach, Savannah, Georgia, and said, hey, guys, no more 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, 24/7. Let's move the products because people need their product. They need what they need. We're dealing with it in terms of the long term, and that's about what we need to do to pass Build Back Better. It strengthens our economy.
What? Word salad of a continuous word salad out of that woman. But now, after all those stages of embarrassment, there's some semblance of acceptance.
Look, I think I was wrong then about the path that inflation would take. As I mentioned, there have been unanticipated and large shocks to the economy.
Wow. If gas went from 2 to 3 to 4, on its way to 5. And yet, the common blue thread through all of those stages, lies and ineptitude. So the White House is finally begrudgingly admitting that, yes, there is inflation. Oh, really? What gave that part away? The soaring, historic, highest in 40 years prices, the data, the fact that Americans have to make the choice between rent and fueling their cars, the massive Democrat spending that led us here. White House mea culpas don't really amount to much at this point, particularly because the left is historically incapable of handling inflation successfully. I think I was wrong, says Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen.
Was it a mistake, Madam Secretary, to downplay this inflation risk? Did that contribute to the problems we're all seeing right now?
Well, look, I think I was wrong then about the path that inflation would take. As I mentioned, there have been unanticipated and large shocks to the economy that have boosted energy and food prices and supply bottlenecks.
Oops. I was wrong about the only job I have. Literally the only one. Yes, we noticed the left's buzzwords are rebranding when they're royally screwed up. It's quite magical and mystical thing to behold. But allow me to translate, because the left's mastery of disinformation can be pretty powerful if left unchecked. Large shocks and unanticipated really means Vladimir Putin and COVID pandemic. And new propaganda secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, KJP, offered nothing useful in rebuttal, but the same old walkbacks.
Has consistently noted that the primary drivers of inflation are the pandemic and Putin's invasion of Ukraine. The twists and turns of both these monumental events have affected energy prices and also food prices that we have seen these past several months. This is Putin's price hike, which the president refers to, and that is what Secretary Yellen was referring to if you read the entire transcript, and that's what I'm trying to say to you.
Except gas prices and inflation started to go up day one. January 20th, 2021, when Biden raised his right hand and swore himself into office. That's when prices started to go up, not the last 3 months under Putin. Crap, garbage. So it would appear the acceptance stage of the White House inflation journey right now is only accepting that inflation actually exists. Kind of unavoidable at this point, and that's perhaps inflation is not transitory, although that's part is also obviously to all Americans already, but the acceptance is never of the real reasons behind it, so that actual solutions can be found and corrections can be made. No, but merely the acceptance is of unavoidable facts, not our fault, because the truth is the so-called large shocks were anticipated, and so many did warn about inflation, including here. But in usual Democrat fashion, they only look for the answers that serve their own purpose and agenda, and because of the source of those warnings were often conservative economists or talking heads like us. The left ran around the swamp for months pushing their spending bills and trying to justify their expansion of the welfare state. As usual, the Democrats resort to their usual remedy of more government spending and easy monetary policy for everything that ails them. The left and their media propaganda machines exalted that massive $1.9 trillion spending blowout in March of last year, even though the economy was moving along just fine then. One hallmark of our time is the total collapse of public trust in the DC swamp and in experts of all kinds, in science, in medicine, in politics, and the three-letter organizations that use words like mandate and trust. The failure is shocking at times, but failing in such spectacular fashion is something I don't think we could ever have imagined. Taking just the inflation example again, the one that the left and their progressive nonsense helped to cause, then failed to anticipate, then ignored and lied about, is yet another example of why we are so royally screwed. Speaking of royally screwed, did anyone wake up early for the kickoff of the Royal Platinum Jubilee activities this morning? No, me neither. But I have seen some of the images of tens of thousands of royal supporters gathered in the streets, lining the streets of London, waving their flags. The celebrations are really something to behold. Queen Elizabeth II is celebrating 70 years on the British throne, and it's marked by military parade flyovers and gun salutes. Oh, and the requisite royal family appearance on the balcony of the Buckingham Palace. Must be nice. Must be nice to have something to celebrate. I mean, I really don't care very much for the royal family, nor their royal fanfare, or their pomp and circumstance, nor their pumped-up self-importance hoist firmly on the backs of everyone who spends a lot of time showering them with affection and attention and pounds, money. Once upon a time, thanks to where I once worked, the royal family in all their glitzy splendor, that world was once forced onto my realm, my world, and I'm very glad to say that it's not really part of my sphere any longer. But today served to remind me of our country's own independence. After all, the very birth of our nation, our republic, our own stars and stripes, our freedom came out of our success in the 13 North American colonies revolting against the British crown. But on a day like today, I'm also reminded of the types of crises and media blowups that they've dealt with over there as opposed to the ones we're dealing with right here at home. No comparison, really. while our country grows numb to shootings, crime, killing, food shortages, and fiery inflation, the Queen concerns herself yet again with a rabble-rousing in-law and with a troubled son who, wink, 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 has COVID and can't attend her Jubilee festivities. That one. I guess that's what you call champagne problems. And today I'm reminded that our own problems are many, and they're very real, and the solutions to them are nowhere to be found. So when will inflation and sky-high prices go down? Our useless, fearless leader just doesn't know.
How long do you think it will be until we see prices coming down?
I'm not going to predict that. It ranges depending on what economists you're talking to by the end of this year, and some say it's going to increase next year. But there's others say by the end of this year you're going to see it come down by the calendar year. I don't know, but I know what we have to do to make sure that we can bring it down.
I don't know, but I know what we have to do to make sure we can bring it down. Well, why don't you start, genius? I don't know. I guess it's better than the outright lie. I don't know is the first thing to come out of Joe Biden's mouth that I actually believe. And despite Joe Obama's pathetic PR stunt of an op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal, this man's true understanding of rising gas prices, a problem his own policies have caused, can be summed up in this statement.
But the idea we're going to be able to, click a switch, bring down the cost of gasoline is not likely in the near term, nor is it with regard to food.
I think we could all wish we could click a switch right about now, but don't worry because it's all about the process, right, Joe?
And when it comes to the gas prices, we're going through an incredible transition that is taking place that, God willing, when it's over, will be stronger and the world will be stronger and less reliant on fossil fuels when this is over.
When this is over. When this is over. And all I can hear is click a switch. And when this is over. What does click a switch mean anyway? The heart hears what it really wants to, I suppose. A review of the stages of the White House lies on inflation. A final scorecard, if you will. First saying there's no inflation. Lie. Then saying it's transitory. Lie again. Then saying it's COVID, lie. Then saying it's big oil and corporate greed, no and no. And then it's Vladimir Putin. Spending is just about the favorite thing ever for Joe Obama and the left, lying about deflecting from and rebranding their heirs the other, as Americans are now paying upwards of $6, $7, even $8 for a gallon of gas in parts of the country. Biden's clueless energy secretary offers little to no hope to Americans, but also for her knowledge about anything related to her own job. Listen.
The Department of Energy has an Energy Information Administration, which is an objective entity that does analysis projecting the prices of gasoline. They say that things might stabilize by the end of this year, but that the price of gas is likely to remain above $4 a gallon.
Wow. Stabilized by the end of this year, it could be $8 a gallon. If it stabilizes there, then what? And why? Why will gas prices continue to cripple Americans for the long term? Because that same woman, our country's energy secretary, also says things like this.
We accelerate the move to clean energy because ultimately a move to clean energy is the homegrown, secure kind of energy that will make us independent.
Right. We can barely keep the lights on as it is. And that's all you need to know, a focus on an agenda, not on solutions. While there should be a scramble to ease the gas prices, the left sees it as an exclamation point to transition to renewable energy. Get it? Their green agenda, their nonsense, non-solution. And the latest piece de resistance, Joe Biden cancels student loans for hundreds of thousands of students to the tune of $5.8 billion of your dollars, folks. Just like that. And who will pay for it? You, me, and millions of already struggling Americans. That's who. Where I'm living right now, among the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. The first 4 for sure. The last one, I'm afraid, acceptance, will never happen for me, at least not under Biden.